Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. Boy, so more to unpack today, guys, with regards to the SBF FTX saga. I thought yesterday was going to be it, but apparently more information is coming to light. Some things that, maybe some of us in the XRP community always had our suspicions of, but now there is definitive proof. And so, the market has recovered a little bit over the last day after the deepening of losses continued. So I've got XRP here right now on the daily, and as you guys can see, XRP did dip down as low as about 31.5 cents, but now it's trading at about 38.9, so almost 39 cents. And as you guys can see here, XRP is up 23% off that low. It's actually faring quite well when you compare this to some other cryptocurrencies that have just gotten decimated. Like even if I look at Bitcoin here, just bringing up Bitcoin here on the daily, bringing that chart up, you guys can see that bottom was in at about $15,600 for Bitcoin. And just bringing that price tool up, Bitcoin's only up about 10%, just over 10% since that low. So XRP is up 23%. Bitcoin only has recovered 10%. And when we take a look at the total market, for example, you can get an idea of how cryptocurrencies in general are doing since that low. So again, we did see that low back on November the 9th. And the entire crypto market is up about 12%. So XRP is still overperforming the rest of the market. Real quickly, I'm just going to do the altcoin market as well. So total to everything excluding Bitcoin. Let's just bring that chart up here so we can see it. And you get that price tool up there. And even the altcoin market's around 13%. So similar to the total market, I guess there really isn't much differentiation between all cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin and excluding Bitcoin. I think in a lot of ways, that XRP rally that we saw back in September really helped us out a lot, considering we were up about 70% at that point. Then we were just vacillating in this area here. Finally, we got the FTX news, the Sam Bankman-Fried fraud allegations. And boom, I mean, we're down hanging on to this level of support rather than going below that marker, which, can't be said for all cryptocurrencies. So that's positive news. However, now we're investigating possibly more corruption. The plot has thickened. This coming from Coin Bureau here on Twitter. U.S. politician Tom Emmer is claiming that FTX was working with the SEC to secure a regulatory monopoly over the crypto industry. And guys, there's a lot of evidence to suggest this. The news comes shortly after the SEC and other regulators announced that they were investigating FTX following its collapse. Tom has promised to investigate the SEC, making him the latest of many U.S. politicians that have recently scrutinized the regulator. And so, I just closed the tab by accident. Here's the tab, opening it up again. This is Tom Emmer here. Interesting. Gary Gensler runs to the media while reports to my office allege he was helping Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX work on legal loopholes to obtain a regulatory monopoly. So now Tom Emmer's office is looking into this fraud. He just retweeted out Gary Gensler's tweet. The fact that Gary Gensler was on Squawk Box, and here's what he had to say. Darren Moore posting this, saying, "I smell bullcrap." Here's Gary Gensler.
Gary, you said people should come in, if you will. Sam Bankman-Fried, it appears from your calendar, on March 29th, 2022, at 4 p.m., came in and actually met with you, along with Brad Katsuyama of IEX, someone who has draped himself in the flag, if you will, of an honorable exchange. Do you feel like you were hoodwinked?
I think we've been clear in these meetings, and you can look at my calendar's public, many meetings with folks in this industry. Very clear in these meetings, same message to the public, same message to them, that non-compliance is not going to work. The public's going to be hurt, but also we're going to continue on these dual paths. And if we need to, going to be the cop on the beat, going into court, putting the facts and the law in front of judges.
So, I mean, Gary Gensler, he is trained to be speaking in the public eye. He's not letting up, sticking to his same talking points, trying to change the world down here, saying, so why did he not go there and be the cop on the beat with a clearly fraudulent entity and instead go after Ripple with zero claims of fraud or anything of the like? Yeah, good question there. So I wanted to take this opportunity to tell you guys, and I'm going to do this at the end of the video as well, this from Crypto Law, connect to Congress. If you are watching and you are a U.S. resident, click below to write to your congressional representative and demand a full investigation of Gary Gensler's official actions and possible role in what may be one of the biggest frauds in American history. There is a link here to Crypto Law, and I will also put this link in the description of the video. I also, as I just said, going to mention this at the end of the video too. Just to remind you guys, because I do think this is really important, the whole form is filled out for you. All you have to do is put in your information here. And this, of course, Crypto Law is put on by John Deaton. Of course, maybe another good opportunity to mention, guys, not your keys, not your crypto. Keep your cryptocurrency safe. There are apparently a lot of reports now where people are having a lot of trouble getting their money off of FTX. And FTX apparently is prioritizing whale investors to remove their funds from the exchange and ignoring retail. So basically, guys, you and I, we are at the bottom of the barrel. Never take a chance. Always keep your cryptocurrency safe. I do have an affiliate link for the Ledger in the description of every video I do. You can use my affiliate if you want. You don't have to use it, but I do urge you guys, please, if you still don't have a cold storage wallet solution, get one, because you never know which exchange could be vulnerable next. We're learning more about Sam Bankman-Fried as the days go on. All 10 are or used to be paired up in romantic relationships with one another. Apparently, Sam Bankman-Fried and his roommates ran the FTX empire. This coming from Sarah Emerson here on Twitter. So the interesting thing about this is that there are some connections to other people involved in this. So Sam Bankman-Fried's cabal of roommates in the Bahamas ran his crypto empire and dated. Other employees have lots of questions. In a nutshell, this whole operation was run by a gang of kids in the Bahamas. Sam Bankman-Fried is 30 years old. Shocking is a word that aptly describes the rapid fall of Sam Bankman-Fried's crypto empire. To a surprising degree, it's a sentiment that pours out from people who work for him, people who you'd think would have a clue. How can that be? It may have something to do with the luxurious penthouse in the Bahamas. That's where 30-year-old Bankman-Fried is roommates with the inner circle who ran his now struggling crypto exchange FTX and trading giant Alameda Research. So, Alameda Research, so two names that have been in the news as of late. Many are former co-workers from quantitative trading firms like Jane Street. Others he met at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, his alma mater. All 10 are or used to be paired up in romantic relationships with one another. Okay, I don't know why they have to mention that, but that's kind of strange. That includes Alameda's CEO, Carolyn Ellison, whose firm played a central role in the company's collapse and who at times has dated Bankman-Fried, according to people familiar with the matter. Remember that name, guys, Caroline Ellison. Let me just go down here real quickly. FTX and Alameda employees CoinDesk interviewed said that they have been kept in the dark about the events of the past week, adding that only CEO Bankman-Fried's inner circle may have had knowledge that the exchange, as reported by the Wall Street Journal, siphoned customer funds into corporate sibling Alameda. It's been radio silence from Sam, a second Bankman-Fried employee told CoinDesk on Wednesday. When we saw CZ tweeting saying that Binance was going to buy FTX, we honestly thought it was fake. But then Sam's tweet just confirmed it. Bankman-Fried finally addressed the employees later on Wednesday, a week after the CoinDesk article was set in motion, writing, "I completely understand if you want to step away," per an internal message to employees viewed by CoinDesk. Okay, now this is creating a backdrop for what is now looking to be a pressing issue in the United States. But was this planned to be a controlled demolition? A lot of damning evidence suggesting that it was. Real XRP boy here, just posting this clip of Hester Peirce for calling out past and current SEC regime tactics, because now the spotlight, more than ever before, is on Gary Gensler and his alleged connection to this potential fraud.
I think the questions around lack of jurisdictional clarity are partly our fault, because we've had opportunities, we've been asked time and again to provide more clarity about where our jurisdiction lies, and we've not done so, and that's part of the reason that you all have the questions that you have right now.
Well, we just heard from Republican Senator Pat Toomey, who put out in a tweet that the crypto sector has been operating with far too much ambiguity because A, regulators refuse to give well-meaning actors clear guidance, and B, lawmakers refuse to act. So obviously you would fall into the A part of that basket, Commissioner. Why has this happened so slowly? Why can't you regulate this industry more quickly?
We've been unwilling to work with people in the industry and people who are interested in participating in the industry to develop guidelines that make sense for the industry. We've instead preferred to take an approach that's rooted in enforcement, and often the enforcement actions come very late and they come after relatively small actors in the market, and it's just not a good way to do the hard work of thinking about what a framework would actually look like.
Do you need Congress at some level to tell you which parts of this industry you ultimately should be responsible for? I mean, is it up to you entirely, or do you need some assistance from others in Washington, D.C.?
That's a great point, and it would certainly be helpful to get Congress's decisions around who they think should be regulating in this area. If they think the SEC should be regulating these crypto trading platforms, for example, to get that directive from Congress would be quite helpful.
You know, I'm curious here as well, because in a tweet that was a bit earlier by Elizabeth Warren, there was a mention of enforcement and a lot of reaction from the industry, frustration. Brian Armstrong, Brad Garlinghouse, really kind of saying that there is no regulatory clarity, as you were kind of hinting at before. Do you think that the next couple of years will be a lot more of the same, enforcement, enforcement, and enforcement, or will there be real rules of the road after what we saw with FTX?
I've been very disappointed with the way that U.S. regulators, and particularly the SEC, has approached this. It has been using enforcement, and in some ways it's because it changes the dynamic of the conversation if you're having it in an enforcement action versus having an open public discussion about what the right regulatory framework for this new and emerging industry is. Yes, there are places where it can slot into the existing regulatory framework, but there are areas where you do need to make adjustments.
So, in fact, it is the SEC's fault, at least as per Hester Peirce, as to why we are seeing what is happening play out. Is there a reason for this? Eleanor Turret here from Fox Business noting this. Also worth noting, a former CFTC commissioner who served under Gary Gensler and replaced him as acting chair. This, she's talking about Mark Wetjen here, is FTX US head of policy and regulatory strategy. Per a source, he was key in SBF's Washington lobbying efforts and introduced Sam to the right people, in quotes. So if you guys just take a look here, just hovering over Mark Wetjen's Twitter profile, FTX US Head of Policy Regulatory Strategy. Also, FTX US Derivatives Board of Directors. Also, US CFTC former acting chair and commissioner. And if you guys take a look at this, it's so weird that CFTC Commissioner Carolyn Pham has deleted this tweet, along with every other chummy reference to FTX, apparently. Meanwhile, somewhere in a small RIA is being referred to enforcement for not captioning an S&P 500 chart as non-investable. So Carolyn Pham, apparently, I have not scoured her Twitter account, but she apparently has deleted all these tweets, these chummy tweets, in quotes, as per, who mentioned that? As per, Ben Hunt, of any indication that she was chummy with anybody associated with FTX and or Sam Bankman-Fried. Here's an example of Carolyn Pham with Mark Wetjen and Sam Bankman-Fried, both associated with FTX. Of course, Mark Wetjen, also a former CFTC commissioner. So, I mean, if you didn't have anything to hide, why would you be deleting tweets? I mean, maybe, because you don't want to be scrutinized under the public eye. I get it. Although, it does look a lot fishier when you're deleting tweets, I gotta say. So there's that aspect to it as well. Crypto Cowboy here also pointing this out. General counsel for FTX US is Ryan Miller, who served under Gary Gensler at the CFTC and is also ex-partner at Sullivan Cromwell. So the connections run deep. You guys can see his LinkedIn profile here, general counsel for FTX. Also the Sullivan Cromwell connection. And while Gary Gensler was at the CFTC, he was also lead counsel to Chairman Gary Gensler. And yesterday, in yesterday's video, which I will link up here if you guys didn't catch it, another nice complimentary video, I guess, to today's video, unveiling more potential damning evidence for Sam Bankman-Fried and co. I did talk about these connections too. So the meetings with SEC staff and how FTX did have those meetings. Yesterday, we didn't really know. We were kind of, guessing. Did Gary Gensler know about this? But I think now it is clear. So I do want to talk about this. I guess, first of all, before we talk about this, I'm going to show you guys this clip of this video. XRP Darren here posting this. Emergency regs, he asks. So apparently the White House is now saying, because of what is happening here, we need emergency regulation now for cryptocurrency. Before their MO was, we need to take our time. We can't, do this quickly. But now we need emergency regs. But Darren Moore actually brings up something interesting. Governor of the Bank of France said that G7 already had crypto regulations, and he wasn't sure why the USA was taking so long. Now the USA turns around and says, because of this, we need emergency regulation stat.
Without proper oversight, cryptocurrencies, it risks harming everyday Americans. So this is something that clearly we monitor and that we see as an important issue. But the most recent news further underscores these concerns and highlights why prudent regulation of cryptocurrencies is indeed needed. The White House, along with the relevant agencies, will again closely monitor the situation as it develops.
Interesting. And, senators are actually still moving forward with the Sam Bankman-Fried backed bill even after the FTX collapse. So not going to get into this in too much depth, but just to give you guys a sense of what Congress is doing. So the quick take here, authors of the legislation to increase federal oversight of crypto exchanges and underlying spot market pledge to move forward on legislation in the wake of FTX's shocking collapse. And Sam Bankman-Fried was a major proponent of the bill, which led to friction between him and other industry leaders. So, despite the situation, it's kind of ironic that they would go through with this bill that was heavily supported by Sam Bankman-Fried of FTX, the exact guy and the exact reason why they need to rush on this in the first place. Okay. So, where are the connections to Gary Gensler? And was the SEC turning a blind eye? Well, this guy's from Wheezy at Nerd Nation Unboxed. Gary Gensler turned the blind eye on MF Global at the CFTC and now is turning a blind eye on FTX while at the SEC. Both look like they had a common denominator, Goldman Sachs. So, this was back from April of this year. In summary, David Solomon of Goldman Sachs has met with Sam Bankman-Fried of FTX, a cryptocurrency exchange, and two major strands evolved out of their discussion. One where Goldman would help FTX get regulatory approvals. Well, we know Gary Gensler has connections with the big banks, Goldman Sachs in particular. There was also this guy's from Cellcat Official here on Twitter. Gary Gensler's boss is the father of Alameda Research CEO Caroline Ellis. Remember back from this article that I talked about at the top of the video? They were roommates, they dated. Well, Caroline Ellis, she is the CEO of Alameda Research, and her father is apparently Gary Gensler's boss. Sam's mom was Hillary Clinton's lawyer and runs Democratic campaign firms. So here is where it gets even more interesting. This is Barbara Fried, Sam Bankman-Fried's mother. Joe Biden announced his presidential campaign 13 days later on May 8th, 2019. Sam Bankman-Fried, son of Barbara Fried, the co-founder of the political fundraising organization Mind the Gap, and Get Out the Vote organizations include the Center for Voter Information, launches the FTX crypto exchange. The exchange is an overnight success that enables Sam to become the second biggest donor to the Biden campaign. Really makes you think. Down here, Gary Gensler's boss at MIT, Glenn Ellison, is the father of this co-CEO, Caroline Ellison of Alameda Research. FTX also went to MIT, or SBF, also went to MIT and helped create Alameda Research. So this is Glenn Ellison, as you guys may know by now, and just clicking quickly down here, MIT Economics, Glenn Ellison, and Gary Gensler, professor of the practice of global economics management at MIT. So you can see here where the connection lies. Also, another tweet in this thread, Caroline, as CEO of Alameda Research, managed what was once worth tens of billions using middle school math. Unsurprisingly, she failed astronomically and was appointed by SBF. I mean, these are children. I hate to say it, but how is this reality? How are we living in a world where this is happening? Billions of dollars going up in smoke. And now the government is saying, oh, well, we got to regulate crypto. Seems like a controlled demolition to me, considering all these ties. RH Cult here also bringing this up. Gary Gensler's boss at MIT, Glenn Ellison, is the father of the co-CEO, Caroline Ellison of Alameda Research. We should also note, and I did mention it earlier, that SBF did attend MIT. Well, John Lent down here bringing something up. This would not surprise me in the slightest. So many red flags. Luna was garbage, but the way that Terra USD crashed was fishy as hell. Obviously orchestrated and almost too perfectly timed with the focus on stablecoins. So, more evidence to suggest a fishy situation. This happened, but the anti-crypto politicians realized that Americans were still buying crypto, and if anything, the trend was increasing. For me, the one thing that will show if the US government colluded with Sam Bankman-Fried to create a black swan with the intention of discrediting the industry, event or not, will be if he is prosecuted or not. So very good observation here. We're going to see. Does he get prosecuted for this? And I mean, even if he does get prosecuted for this, who's to say that, the judge won't be in their corner? If he isn't, then it makes sense why he may have agreed to be the fall guy for this situation. Before you think this is far-fetched, just take a look at the following video where Senator Warren is saying cryptocurrency is bad and then almost gleefully promotes CBDCs. To be clear, their stance on crypto has nothing to do with investor protection, as I think the XRP community knows by now, but everything to do with control. Yes, we know there are bad actors, and yes, there are some scams, but guess what would get rid of those things very quickly? Probably rid 95% of projects. Proper, coherent, workable legislation. If investor protection was their true motive, then they would work with the industry, like the industry has been calling for years, to create clear, workable guidelines, rules of the road to give clarity. Congress could or should have done this ages ago. If they had then, 95 to 99% of bad projects and bad actors would have disappeared. This would mean a true focus on consumer protection and transparency. It really is not that difficult. So why hasn't all this happened? What is the real motive of Senator Warren and company? Guess what? They don't want that. They don't want Joe Public going and using decentralized cryptocurrencies, which will improve their lives, increase financial inclusion, bank the unbanked. They don't want the public to be quite so independent. Make no mistake, to be clear, Warren and Co.'s fake concern about cryptocurrencies is purely about control and making sure they delay it as long as it takes for them to release a U.S. central bank digital currency. They could have created legislation years ago to stop most of the scams, etc., but instead they are allowing bad faith actors to flourish, and they're bringing fake lawsuits against legitimate U.S. companies. Fact is, cryptos can easily coexist with central bank digital currencies. This goes on down here, and he goes on to say, right, but that's not enough for them. You see, seeing that video and how Warren was almost gleeful when talking about central bank digital currencies compared to how negative she was when talking about cryptos tells you everything you need to know. People talk about FUD, but if you go and look at all the obviously rehearsed scripted Senate hearings with Warren on the topic of cryptos, with her scripted notes and all, with her hand-picked, rehearsed experts who happen to agree with everything she says to paint all cryptocurrencies in a bad light, apart from making you feel queasy from the bad acting, it proves that the biggest FUD mongers are our own public servants. Do I think they colluded with Sam Bankman-Fried to create this black swan event to try and justify their stance? I don't know for sure, but guess what? It would not surprise me in the slightest. They are a bunch of duplicitous, deceitful, disingenuous cretins. Exactly. Great tweet thread here from John Lent on Twitter, just kind of summing it up. And you know what? It all makes sense. But guys, it is just getting worse. So this is still kind of in motion here. Alameda bought up and acquired 70% of USDT, USDT Tether. This could get even more systemic real quick. So nothing as of late, knock on wood, has happened with Tether. Not yet, at least. Tether mints, FTX liquidates, Alameda pads its balance sheet. So this was before the crash, November the 3rd, but only about a few days before. Tether's suspected ties to bank fraud are under a more powerful microscope as America's top financial cops take over a stalled investigation of the world's largest stablecoin by market cap. So this news is still ongoing, guys. I'm not going to get into it in depth, but it could create more strife for the industry. There was also this from XRP Crypto Wolf. Holy crap, BlockFi is also pausing withdrawals again because of the Alameda and FTX situation. We are shocked and dismayed by the news regarding FTX and Alameda. We, like the rest of the world, found out about this situation through Twitter. Given the lack of clarity on the status of FTX and Alameda, we are not able to operate business as usual. So guys, you see how this is extending now to BlockFi. Our priority has been and will continue to be to protect our clients and their interests. There we go again with the whole protection narrative. Until there is further clarity, we are limiting platform activity, including pausing client withdrawals as allowed under our terms. We will share more specifics as soon as possible. We request that clients not deposit to BlockFi or interest accounts at this time. So even though BlockFi technically has not been affected, well, they're saying we are kind of affected by this. We're pausing withdrawals, and we suggest you do not deposit into our accounts. All things that make you go, So again, guys, I urge you, I do have an affiliate link in the description. If you do not have your cryptocurrency on a cold storage solution, I urge you, it doesn't have to be the ledger, it can be anything, but I urge you, make sure you keep your crypto safe because we are right now in the crypto space navigating uncharted waters. Also wanted to mention this again, if you are a U.S. resident, you can click below and write to your congressional representative and demand a full investigation of Gary Gensler's official actions and possible role in what may be the biggest fraud in American history. So this came across my desk and I thought it was kind of funny. This is Martin Shkreli, that the pharma bro. There's a documentary on him. He went to jail for fraud. Here's Do Kwon. Guess who else is in the room here, guys? Sam Bankman-Fried. And just take a look at his reaction to what Shkreli says.
I just want to let you know, jail's not that bad. It sucks, but it's not the worst thing ever. So don't fret if that. I hope it doesn't happen, but if it does happen, it's not that bad.
Good to know.
Sam? Sam.
Dude just pieces out. Anyway, that's the vibe for today, a Friday. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.